Hey, it's Mike Camper at Flipner.com. Welcome back for another exciting VIP interview where I interview successful real estate investing experts and entrepreneurs across our industry to help you learn and grow. Today, I'm joined by my friend Jacob Ash, who's a co-founder of Gentry Real Estate, which is a very large Arizona brokerage that is probably the largest buyer of homes at auction in the state of Arizona. They bought thousands and thousands of houses. Jacob and his team have not only bought thousands of houses, they have a tremendous amount of experience rehabbing and reselling properties. And today, that's what we're going to talk about, what it takes to put out a great rehab that you can sell and maximize your profit. And given that a lot of his background is in auctions, making sure that you don't overpay for it and that you buy it right to allow you to rehab it right and still make a profit. So before we get started, though, let's take a moment to recognize our featured sponsors. RealtyMogul.com is an online marketplace for real estate investing, connecting borrowers and capital from accredited and institutional investors. Get a rehab loan fast and close in as little as 10 days. Rates start as low as 9%. We'd also like to thank National Real Estate Insurance Group, the nation's leading provider of insurance to the residential real estate investor market. From individual properties to large-scale investors, National Real Estate Insurance Group is ready to serve you. Please note, the views and opinions expressed by the individuals in this program do not necessarily reflect those of FlipNerd.com or any of its partners, advertisers, or affiliates. Please consult professionals before making any investment or tax decisions, as real estate investing can be risky. Hey, Jacob. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike. Glad to be here.
Yeah, good to see you again. So, we had your partner on, Spencer, a while back, talking about buying houses at auction. And you guys have done just a ton of volume, right? I mean, share a little bit of your background with us and kind of tell us what you guys have accomplished at the auction.
Sure. So Spence and I, we've been business partners for about 9 years together. And we actually worked together at a different firm, a property management company, where the company had 1,500 homes they managed. And we were on the sales team there. We had always worked with investors. It had always kind of been our niche. But we also felt the need to branch off and start our own company. So we started Gentry Real Estate Group, like I said, about 9 years ago. And before the auction craze took off, we were just working directly with builders, going to builders and saying, hey, sell us a percentage of your subdivision for a discounted price. And they would do that. So we were working with some of the big builders for that. Okay. And then we kind of just fell into the auctions because one of my good friends contacted me about a property selling. So we bought that, and actually, the funny thing is we had just purchased a property from the builder for, I think, $80,000, and then that same week, he gave us the same property in the same subdivision at $65,000. He had just bought at auction. So we said, wait a sec, we're missing something here. We need to be buying stuff up at trustees. So it was actually before the crazy increase in influx of properties that we have. Yeah. But we've been buying down there aggressively for about 7 years, and we've purchased a little over 10,000 properties down there at trustees sell on behalf of investors and clients.
That's incredible. And some of those are for yourself, and some of them are on the behalf of other buyers. I mean, you guys run an operation where you're buying for other people as well, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Majority are for other clients and investors of ours.
Yeah. And for a lot of folks that don't know, you guys have auctions Monday through Friday, every day of the business week, right?
Monday through Friday, and I mean, we've been in several counties, and not only is it Monday through Friday, but you have auctions at 9, at 10, 11, 12, and 2. So it's throughout the day as well.
That's crazy. Yeah. I actually don't know a whole lot about the auction scene other than in Texas it's once a month, and a lot of states it's once a month. But you've got to run a major ground operation to be able to vet properties and do that type of be prepared every day to go to the auction, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We have a crew of about 20 or 30 guys guys and gals that it takes to put the whole thing together and make sure it runs smoothly.
Yeah. So in Arizona, you've seen a lot of ups and downs, and as we talked about a little bit beforehand, we're pretty much every place right now. We're entering much more of a seller's market than what we've seen in many years. And I know my strategy with rehabbing and exit strategies have changed with different markets. And I know you got a lot of experience. How do you? I know we're going to dive into this a lot deeper, but how do you differentiate how you rehab houses today versus when you had to be the nicest house on the street a few years ago?
Sure. You still want to make sure that you stand out, obviously.
Yeah.
You're buying these properties that trustees sell, and so the houses have been neglected. Some have been vacant for years. So you want to make sure that you purchase it and turn it into something amazing. The difference is that in today's market, it's all about turning properties. The more properties you turn, the better return on your money you can get.
Yeah.
So it's really just a turn game. You want to move your inventory as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Well, before we get into kind of some tips and stuff on rehabbing and what to do or make sure you do, talk a little bit about how you buy at the auction, which many times are, sight on scene. You have to make some assumptions about what's going on the inside and with the blinds closed and all the games that you guys play to figure out how to get access or to make assumptions. But talk about, that seems scary to me. I mean, you know my background of going in and looking at houses and things like that. We really understand what we're getting into. And therefore, you can properly assess how much you're going to spend on the house, and therefore you can feel comfortable with the offer that you make. But you guys are going in at least half blind a lot of times. How do you know what your maximum allowable kind of offer is going to be able to do what you need to do on a house when you can't even see it most of the time?
Sure. So, I mean, it's one of those things you do, like you said, you do the best you can do with the amount of information you have. So what we provide for our clients is we actually have a team of 7 or 8 drivers that head out every morning at 5 in the morning, crack of dawn, they get up, and they'll drive all the properties. And we're covering, obviously, quite a few counties. We buy in Pinal County, Maricopa County, Pima County, and Navajo County in Arizona, the 4 most populated counties in Arizona. But they'll head out, and they'll drive all the properties. They're taking pictures, and our drivers are pretty, I mean, they're like ninjas. I mean, they'll climb through windows. They'll do whatever they can, as long as it's vacant and that, they get permission from neighbors and things like that, so everybody knows what's going on. But they do the best they can. And then obviously there's sometimes, like you said, the blinds are closed, the doors are locked, there's no way to determine. In that case, you just got to make sure you pad your bid, saying, all right, worst case, the kitchen's going to be gone or the piping's going to be stolen, which, I mean, happens very, very rarely. But you just got to pad your bid to be able to adjust if needed be.
Yeah. And how do you balance between kind of padding your bid like that and just the general challenge of the auction is it's easy to get outbid and you want to win, and it's the winner's curse of we need to win that deal. And then you start, I assume sometimes in your head, and sometimes you're working with, or your clients' heads that you're buying for, they start to say, when they made their offer and said, this is how much I'm going to pay, and they say it's based on some assumptions of, well, the bathrooms probably need to be redone, for example, and the kitchen probably needs to be redone. And then in their head, psychologically, they start to think, well, maybe the bathrooms don't need to be done, or you start to justify how to pay more, which is what the auction's all about, right? But how do you kind of balance between, padding and being safe and just making assumptions that a lot more needs to be done than maybe it likely does, and still being able to get the deal?
Well, you're dealing in large amounts of money. I mean, it's thousands. I mean, you're buying a house. It's not like you're buying something at Target or something. So I mean, it's a lot of disciplines needed. We have a ton of investors, and each kind of have their own strategy. I have one investor. He's so funny because he'll call me and he'll say, "Yeah, bid $80,000 on this property," and I'll say, "No problem." And then we always get our clients on the phone so they actually can hear the property going live. So without fail, whenever he gets on the phone, he'll go just $15,000, $20,000 higher than what he told me previously. And I'm just like, "Hey, are you sure you want to keep going?" And he says, "Oh yeah, I'm good." And so he knows how he bids. So he obviously is prepared. All right, I'll bid 80, but really I'm going to go 95 or 90 or whatever it is. And I have other clients that they work the numbers down to the penny. They know exactly what their profit's going to be, and they have a little bit of miscellaneous, prices they need to take into account. And then they write down that number and they say, all right, it's firm, and you have 500 over this. So at the most, go 500 over if we think that we're close to being a successful bidder.
Yeah.
So there's different strategies, but it comes down to discipline, making sure you can walk away and say, you know what, it's better that I didn't get it. There's always another deal out there.
Right. Yeah, good. Well, let's talk about rehabs. I mean, you've done a lot of them, and your customers have done a lot of them. Let's talk a little bit about different strategies of how you can be successful. And because I think, like I said, for me personally, my strategy has changed over the years, where in the past, we used to have to knock everything out. We would granite and everything, stainless and everything. We didn't keep much of that was there. We always we had a lot of pride in putting out a great product, which I think up until maybe a year or so ago was important to kind of stand out. And now as we're kind of in a seller's market, at least where I'm at in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, is we find ourselves often being able to do more of what I'll call wholetailing. So we kind of clean it up and sell it. Yeah, I guess my experience is, just to give a hypothetical example, is sometimes we could put $25,000 into a house and make the same profit as if we had put $5,000 into the house and sold it for $20,000 less, effectively passing on a deal or a fixer-upper to the next person. And there's some psychology there in terms of people that want to buy a fixer-upper and put some sweat equity into it. But talk a little about your experience with what it takes to successfully rehab a house and do it right.
So there's a million different ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
And so we have investors that do full-on remodels, even in today's market when they are getting offers pretty quickly on their properties. We have clients that they just feel better. They want to sell a quality product, and so they'll go in and they will. If it's linoleum, they'll replace it with tile. If it's Formica, they'll replace it with granite. So they do the full remodels, and they'll actually even stage the properties, at the end. And so it all depends on your turn time with regards to that. If you have some really good rehab crews, like for example, one of my largest investors, he has 3 different crews, and so he purchases a property at trustee sale, and he's the kind that likes to go all out regardless of the market. But he'll have 3 crews. They go out and they bid it. He always uses whoever gives them the best bid, obviously. It keeps them honest, keeps them competitive. And then within 2 or 3 days, he has the quotes in, and he has them working on the property. And then he'll usually have it all done and remodeled, even the professional way with the granite and the tile and the staging, all of that within 3 weeks or a month if it's a larger rehab. And what he likes to do because of that is because he has a quality product he puts on the MLS, and he's gotten to the point, interestingly enough, where people recognize it just by the pictures. So he'll have like the little sayings on the picture that says, welcome home, honey. You found your home. Those kind of
yeah.
things. He loves those. But at the same time, he'll have agents that have either worked with him or just know his work that are actually calling him saying, hey, let me know when you have something that comes up in this area. I have a client looking. They love your property, and so. That's a strategy that works for him. He has a list of buyers that are ready and able and willing to purchase his stuff according to his models, just because of the quality of work he does. And then on the other end, one of my other largest investors, it's all about just putting some lipstick on it, and you put it back on the market right away. Like you said, he's not putting 10, 15, 20 grand into it. He's not spending that 3 weeks or a month to rehab the property. He's just throwing it back up on the market.
Yeah.
I have seen that it is most successful still when you can do that full-on remodel and turn it into a very quality product, because it's always going to sell faster than your competitors, same street or in the same subdivision.
Yeah. Yeah, and the key, of course, is making sure you buy it right to be able to do the type of work that you want to do to it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's all about your return on investment. So he has another investor. He only buys properties that have a yard big enough for a pool, because for some reason, not for some reason, we're in Arizona where it gets to be 115 degrees, 100 degrees.
Right.
But he'll build these homes at auction that have bigger yards, and he'll put a pool in every single one, because he knows that's what people in Arizona want. He has it down to a science. He can build a very nice quality pool for $8,000, and it'll give him a $30,000 increase in his price. So just by purchasing a property, putting that lipstick on it, but adding a pool with nothing else, he's making a $12,000 spread just on the pool investment.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. So and then I guess talk a little bit about what are some trends that you're seeing in terms of rehabbing and remodeling, and at least in Arizona, and I know it's different in every market, but what are some trends that you're seeing with the market shifting here? Anything that's different from in the past?
No, it was there's a lot of investors in the market right now. It seems like it kind of died down towards the end of 2014. But even since January 1, it's really been picking up. I mean, as we know, Fannie and Freddie have been dumping some really cool loan programs into the system with 0% down and the 5% down. So there's going to be an increase of buyers, and then also you have the people who have that timeline that need to expire, the seasoning on foreclosures and things like that when it happened in 2008. Those are finally expiring, so you have an influx of investors, or I'm sorry, first-time buyers and second home buyers coming into the market to pick up the inventory. But it seems like it's really been picking up just since January 1st.
Okay. And you guys at Gentry, you have a large property management company as well, right?
Correct. We manage about 700 homes, and 90% of them are homes that our investors have purchased at auction through us, and then they use us to manage them.
Yeah. So maybe talk a little bit about the difference that you guys often see between rehabbing for a retail sale and rehabbing for rental grade.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So in rental properties, as we know, it's all about your cap rate. So when we purchase a home at auction, you're looking for a completely different model. When you're, when you're flipping a property, it's all about the spread. You want to be buying as cheaply as possible and get that big spread, and then your cap rate, what kind of return you're going to get on your monthly. So the rents aren't going to be that significant regardless if there's granite or Formica. So our investors that only focus on rentals here in Arizona, they're doing the bare minimum. They want to get in and like you said earlier, they're putting a couple grand into the property, replacing the carpet, painting, and fixing the roof that needs to be fixed. They'll maybe throw desert landscaping down. A lot of people don't. Do they even have desert landscaping in Texas?
No, tell us what that is. I mean, I think I know it. I mean, I come out to Phoenix once in a while, but
I had a friend come down and visit me from Utah, and we were looking at a house, and he's like, "Man, what's all this rock in your backyard? I mean, what's this?" And I'm like, "This is desert landscaping. You've never heard of it?" He's like, "No, that's a completely new. It was a new idea to him. It was a new concept."
Yeah.
But in Arizona, I mean, because of the water savings and things like that, we'll usually just throw rock in the backyard and front yard, and with little plants, a couple trees, and that's it. But very little grass. We kind of got made fun of by one of our investors who came down because he said, "You're the only state where the people will actually just paint their rocks green in their front and backyard to make it look like grass."
Yeah. Do they actually do that?
The desert. Well, there's some people that do. I don't. It is funny, but they'll throw down desert landscape. So it's just rocks and some shrubs, and it's very cheap. It's inexpensive. It's very low maintenance. You got to go out once every couple weeks and pick a couple weeds. You're not having to mow the yard and water it and things like that.
Yeah.
So, with the rentals, it's perfect for tenants because it's all about usually the tenant won't treat the property the same way that an owner will, unfortunately. So you want to make sure that you're just doing the bare minimum. So when you do have to replace it down the line, it's going to be cheap.
Yeah.
The only difference with the rentals is if you're going to replace the carpet, if you have to replace it anyway, it's always best to put tile throughout the whole thing. That way, when you have the tenants turnover, obviously you're not having to replace the carpet every couple years. It's just tile. It's going to be there forever.
Yeah, we're doing more and more of that. We actually used to for a while when we put carpet in, we actually were putting in a more expensive carpet into like a C-class rental than we were putting in a B plus class retail, and it was because it was just a lot more durable. It literally would absorb stains. I mean, it was a long term. It cost more up front, but obviously the theory was it would cost less over time.
Sure.
I think that's a myth that a lot of landlords I think figure that out over time, is that if you use higher quality materials for certain things, then they'll be more durable over the long haul, and it's going to end up saving you money over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Tile's going to, more expensive carpet or a nicer tile versus just kind of your cheap standard carpet. It's going to cost more, but it's an ROI that
or especially with like some plumbing fixtures and stuff like that that are just the made in China stuff that there's no replacement parts for, and things like that, where the material's cheaper, but the labor to have to do it twice is going to kill you. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then we have So I have another investor. He buys flips and rentals, kind of a combination. But he'll regardless. So he'll buy a property, do a full-on gut remodel, and he'll do the nice granite, the nice tile, the nice landscaping. He'll go all out, and then he actually lists it for sale or for rent, because he always goes for the less expensive homes. He's going for homes, they're a little bit older, usually under $50,000, that still have strong spreads if he was wanting to flip them. But worst case, if he wanted to rent them out, he would be able to get a solid return on that. So he'll actually he does a lot more than just lipstick. He'll do a full-on remodel because he knows that he's marketing it himself. He can also push rent because they it's a nicer quality of home, which isn't always the case, obviously. But he'll do a lease purchase in those instances. He'll let them fall in love with the home, which he does a fantastic job, and then turn them into lease purchases. Kind of best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah. So since you guys do so much at the auction, let's talk a little bit more about that. So where do you see things going at the auction? Does it feel like it's slowing down for you with inventory, or where do you think things are going over the next year or so?
You know what? It's not nearly as crazy down there like it was in 2011, 2012, but there was also a lot more competition down there. So in Maricopa County, for example, there were like 30 people that would show up, and it was just a melee of craziness. In Pinal County, for example, there were 8 or 9 guys down there that were bidding, and now it's a completely different market. A lot of these there's a lot less inventory, like you said, and a lot of these kind of smaller bid companies have kind of fallen to the wayside. So it hasn't affected us. We still buy several a day. We bought 6 properties yesterday down there, and we bought I think 4 properties last Friday. So we're usually about 3 or 4 a day still, whereas 2011 and 12 we were probably more 8 or 9. The difference is there's better spreads because less competition.
Yeah.
So I think that we're actually still sub the going rate at auctions. They've cleared out inventory, and then they're also holding back on some. So I expect it to go up, but even as it is now, buying 4 or 5 a day, we're thrilled with that, obviously.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah.
But I see it as increasing over this year. In fact, an article just came out about Arizona that foreclosures are on the rise again. So I see it increasing over the next several months, and then over the next year or two.
Yeah.
But it's still strong. There's still, even in a normal foreclosure rate, there's still, Maricopa County, the counties in Arizona are large. They're very large. Maricopa County holds Phoenix and Gilbert and Glendale and Tempe. Just very, very cities in some county. And so just in a normal foreclosure market, there's still going to be foreclosures every day. There's still going to be people, unfortunately, that have to lose their house.
Yeah. Well, and you guys, your brokerage is huge, right? You guys really got to have your ear to the ground with what's going on in the retail market. Tell us about your brokerage in terms of the volume that you guys do, the number of agents and volume of transactions and stuff, and maybe share some of your insights you might have recently on what's going on with the retail market.
Sure. So we're in a lucky spot because we work mainly with investors, and because of the amount of inventory we use, we're kind of the go-to brokerage in Arizona with investors. So there's a lot of investors out there that have their real estate license too. So we have about 250 agents with our brokerage, which we're not a Keller Williams by any means that are national, but at the same time we're also we're one of the larger privately owned ones in the state of Arizona as well. So we have about 250 agents, and most of them are investors themselves who either buy at auction with us or have their own pool of investors that are purchasing. We close about 100 transactions a month or so through the brokerage, just because a lot of these buying stuff themselves, or a couple of the agents have 2 or 3 in the pipeline themselves that they're always just kind of turning. But with regards to the market, there's still a little bit of inventory backlog. As I said, it's starting to pick up in January, but there's about 3 months of inventory on the market right now, from what we've seen. So we know that if you the typical turnaround for an investor purchasing a trustee sale is you want to plan on about 4 months from acquisition to close of escrow and actually getting your money back on that. The ideal timeline is you purchase the home today, you get your guys in there right away, giving you quotes and deciding what it's going to be to rehab. Then you don't want the rehab to take longer than 3 or 4 weeks, and then you want to list the property right away. Obviously, the name of the game is turning, and so the only time when it could take longer is if the property's been occupied, which I would say about 30%, 20 to 30% of the properties we buy at auction are actually occupied. Usually not even by the homeowner; they're by tenants, but probably about 15% are by the homeowner. Usually, by the time the home goes to auction, the person who's lost the home has been aware of it for months, and they've been able to make other arrangements to move into. So the only times when that would affect your timeline is if you have to go through the eviction process, which thank goodness in Arizona it's a very fast process. It takes about 25 days from the delivery of the 5-day eviction notice to them actually moving out through the court system.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, Jacob, we've just a couple minutes left here. Any kind of advice or tips to share to people on keeping an eye on the market as it shifts, or as we move forward here, how to make sure that if they're rehabbing, they're making kind of good decisions and doing things in the most profitable way possible. Any kind of final words of wisdom to share with us? Sure.
So what I advise my new investors coming in to buy with us is that, it's like I said, you're buying a house. There can be a lot of money to be made, but also if you buy incorrectly, you can lose money too. So it's always smart when you're buying a new market you need to know it first. Our investors that are most successful, they will stick to certain markets, certain areas. They'll get their niche and they'll stick to that niche. You don't want to say, well, I want to start buying a property in Arizona or in Dallas and say, I'm going to open up to the whole field. You want to say, all right, I'm going to concentrate on this area, this zip code, or this part of the city, and then know that key demographic well. Get to know the sales, the closes, how long days on market, everything. Know that area like the back of your hand, so you're the expert in that. So when we have investors that come in, we say, all right, know what area you want to buy in, put together a game plan for it, and then as they're preparing, you want to do some dry runs. You analyze the list, say, all right, this is what I would bid on the property, and then put in a fake bid with us, make sure that we know it's a fake bid, and then go through the process, see if you would have gotten it, and if you didn't get it, you can say, all right, where do I need to adjust? Or if you were going to get it, then you say, great, all right, now what would be the next step? But going through those dry runs and really making sure that you know the market well is going to give you the best key to be the most successful.
Yeah, that's great. Good advice. Well, hey, Jacob, thanks again for joining us today. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Stay in touch. We'll talk to you soon. Are you a member of FlipNerd.com, the most robust real estate investing platform in existence, where you can find off-market wholesale deals and great vendors literally in your market? You can get access to advice from experts and learn about local clubs and events right in your backyard. If not, please visit FlipNerd.com and register for a free account. You can register in less than a minute. It's pretty much the coolest site that's ever existed in the real estate investing industry, so get on over to FlipNerd.com.